Hey, so we're at the foothills of the MacDonnell Ranges, and I have another food. This one is very common. You might even know it. It's called common purslane. This is it right here. It's a ground cover, low growing, and fairly fast growing. Especially after rain, can cover whole areas very quickly. It's a cosmopolitan species. It's found around the world, and it's pretty amazing. It's been used since ancient times for food. You can eat every single part of it. You can eat the leaves, the stems, the seeds, and even the roots. I've collected a few here. I'm quite fond of it, as you can see. Has many different forms, especially worldwide. Even in Australia, even in a small area like this, it can be a little different. So you can have a form with red stems, even red leaves, or you can have something that's completely green. The more rain it gets, the more leggy it becomes as well. And in desert areas, especially when there's a fair bit of salt around, it's very salt tolerant, by the way, it'll get short, very succulent leaves and a big, thick taproot. I think it's well worth it with this species to dig a little around the roots so that you get the whole taproot out. Now, I like to get rid of the skin, and it tastes like potato. All parts of this plant you can eat raw, but the root can be a bit fibrous, so you may like to boil it or cook it. The leaves you can also boil, but I find they taste a bit better fresh. The taste can take some getting used to. It took me a few goes. It has a bit of a sour taste, maybe a little oniony in sourness, and a bit slimy when you chew on it. I wouldn't say in a particularly bad way, but it does take getting used to. The first time I ate it, I didn't particularly like it, but a couple days walking when you're starving, you eat a bit more and soon you learn to love it. Especially since it grows everywhere. Whenever you're hungry, you can pick a bunch and you'll be fine in no time. For a leafy plant, it does have a decent amount of calories to it, more than tomatoes. It has about 20 calories per 100 grams, and that's just the leaves. The seeds and the root have a bit more. In fact, the seeds are very nutritious, although they're also very small, so you won't go very far if you're just harvesting seeds. If you do have plenty of plants, and they've all just flowered, it may be worth it to collect a whole bunch, lay them out on canvas or tarpaulin if you have it, and they'll all drop their seeds. You can make a bread out of the seeds, or a damper. Crush them up and roast it, and it stores for quite a while. But because the seeds are so small, it's probably not worth it when you can just eat it on the plant. The flowers, they're yellow and they have 5 petals. Show you the plant close up. The leaves are fairly succulent. And the taste is, I would say, a little oniony. Mostly like rocket or irregular in taste, but salty, slightly salty. Of course, the plants that are growing on salt pans or near the coast are a fair bit more salty, but it's a pleasant level. And they're full of water as well, which is very important, especially out here where there's not a lot of water. If you're thirsty, I'm sure you could get by on these a whole lot further than if you didn't eat them. Interestingly, this plant has one of the highest levels of omega-3 fatty acid of any vegetable, which compared to other things like nuts and seeds isn't a whole lot, but still, if you have no other sources of it, it's pretty good. The seeds taste very similar to poppy seeds. Some people say it's a little bit like linseeds, but I don't taste that at all. I find it's almost exactly like poppy seeds. And the flowers don't really have any taste. They taste just like the leaves. I think that's about all I know on them. Their forms are different in their different habitats. They can be up to about this high, especially in wet areas, or very low growing, barely getting off the ground like right here. But a distinctive plant. Their sourness comes from oxalic acid in the leaves. It's the same compound that you might find in spinach. So probably isn't great to eat a whole heap of them every day, especially if you're sensitive to that. But in most people, it's completely fine, and the level isn't that high in the leaves. So yeah, I'll see you again soon in another video with another plant.